Hello and welcome. You are listening to the grant application orientation with the Community Foundation San Luis Obispo for the competitive grant process starting in June 2025. Throughout this presentation, you will hear from a handful of staff at the Community Foundation. I am Michelle Fries, Director of Grants and Programs.
I'm Alicia Krepsky, Program Coordinator.
And I'm Emily Narbson, Grants and Scholarships Program Assistant.
The agenda for the training today will include learning about our new grant application portal, reviewing some of the new grant application questions, including issue area specific questions, and then looking at and talking about submitting a completed application and how you can check the status in the portal. I'll now hand it over to Emily to take it from here.
To access the online grants portal, start by visiting our website, at which you can see on the screen. Once you're on that page, you'll find a description of all the available grant opportunities. Scroll to the bottom of the page to find the link to our new grants portal, which is called Grants Lifecycle Manager. Once you click on the link, it will take you to the login page. Since this is a new platform, all users will need to create a new account. In order to do this, you can click on the Create New Account button. This will ask for basic information. If you have any issues or need assistance, feel free to reach out to me by using the email shown on the slide or my personal email. When creating a new account, it requires information such as organization name, EIN/tax ID, phone number, email, and address. Once the account is created, you can add more users to the main account by clicking Invite User. I will show you how to navigate to this page shortly. Once you log in, you will see the two applications that are available. With this updated portal, we've streamlined the application process to make it easier and more accessible. The Community Grants Program application, our general operating competitive grant opportunity, now includes all issue areas in one application, which we will go over in the next few slides. Rather than applying separately, applicants can now use one unified application for all competitive grant categories. The other application you can see is the field of interest. This is for project-specific grants, which Alicia will touch on later. I will now pass it back to Michelle.
As Emily mentioned in the previous slide, there are two types of applications, the Community Grant Program application and the Field of Interest Program grant application. Most of the questions in these two applications are the same, and so for that reason, we are sharing a lot of the same slides. When there is a difference of content or question that you will see from one application to the other, we will note that throughout the presentation. After you complete your profile and select the appropriate application that you will work on, you'll be asked to provide some basic organizational information. These are things like mission, vision, org name that you can see here. These are basic pieces of information, so we're not going to spend any detail going over them here. On this slide, you will see a difference between what will be visible in the Community Grant Program application versus the Field of Interest Program grant application. These questions that you do see are intended to help us understand the current circumstances for your organization. Because the Community Grant Program application is a general operating funding application, we're collecting information about your fundraising challenges in addition to your top capacity building need. Because the Field of Interest Program grant application is project specific, we are only collecting information about your fundraising challenges because support for capacity building would not be permissible for a project grant. On this slide, we see that both applications are seeing the same questions regarding our overarching criteria. At the top of the slide, you see where we are trying to understand how your organization is interacting with the populations that you're serving, and you will have noted those populations earlier in the application. We want to know how you are listening to, collecting information and stories from, how you're integrating those voices, and ultimately how they are helping your organization make decisions. At the bottom of the slide, you will see that we're trying to understand how your organization is identifying the disparities that you are working to make progress in, and what activities you are engaging in as an organization to address those disparities. On this slide, just as the last, this is another overarching criteria question that all applicants, despite which program, will be asked to respond to. This question is asking you to please help us understand what data sources you use to inform your program and your strategy in your work. At the bottom of the slide is a link to the data center on our own website. Please note that it is not required for you to use data sources from our data center, but it's provided as a resource. We're just hoping to learn what relevant and timely data sources you are using. This slide is relevant for the Community Grant Program application, which is the application for general operating grants. The issue areas outlined here, including arts and culture, environment, health and human services, and seniors and people with disabilities, are areas that in the past would have each required a separate application. In this application, you are invited to choose one or more of these areas where your organization's work aligns. Please determine how your organization aligns with these areas by reading the bullet points above each of the issue areas. The bullet points are the criteria that will be used when evaluating applications and how aligned your organization's work is with that issue area for this grant application process. As you can see on this slide, the awards are multi-year, 20 to 40,000 across 2 years, or 10 to 20 across 3. We anticipate awarding at least 3 grant awards in each of the areas, possibly more than 3.
The field of interest grant application is project-based and is not intended to fund an organization's overall operations. For this reason, the organizations applying for this grant do not need to solely focus on the issue area or population. But what is important is that the proposed project or program does. For example, your organization may serve a wide population and provide a range of services. But when applying for a Growing Together Field of Interest grant, the project must primarily serve the LGBTQIA+ community and align with one or more of the following criteria that reaches out to, involves, and centers queer and trans people of color, advances medical and mental health care for transgender and non-binary people, and or creates queer spaces in currently underserved areas of the county. The grants awarded this year will be between $5,000 and $10,000. In project details, we're asking you to share your implementation strategy, painting a picture from start to finish. This includes activities, timeline, volunteer or staff responsibilities, community partnerships and or collaborations, and anticipated outcomes. We are also requesting a simple budget specific to the project. You may create and upload your own budget or use the project budget template provided in the portal. Now I will hand it over to Emily to tell you how to complete your application process.
Once you complete your application with all necessary information and documents, the final step would be to acknowledge the terms and conditions statement, which is required. Once that step is complete, make sure to click Submit Application. If you are needing additional information and aren't ready to submit, make sure to click Save Application. There is an autosave function as you complete the process, but we do recommend you click the Save button on every page. To see your application's progress, go to the home page and click Organization History. Here you can see your organization info, request history, contacts, and documents. The Contact tab is how you will invite users to join the account, which can be done at any time. If you click on Request History tab, you will be able to see all applications you've submitted along with the status of the application. Here you will see if your application is in progress, submitted, in review, accepted, and not accepted. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to reading your applications.